Would you like to see how to make a fortune by harnessing the bad news to create amazing wealth by investing in yourself to learn the skills, tools, and resources that the wealthy have been using for years? Just like Gabe did. He was a pilot, unhappy with his life, made a decision to improve it and go into real estate to make it happen. He was committed. He started, like many, doing wholesaling. Very simple skill. Find a property at a discount, tie it up, and sell the contract and make the spread. Kind of like an option contract in the stock market. Now recently, he got a property under contract worth around $500,000 for $325,000 from an elderly lady that was pressed for time. Her husband sadly had passed away, who needed to sell immediately, that was financially challenged. She needed to sell their property right now to make $60,000 over her mortgage to take care of health issues. She needed the money now, to sell now, but there are no buyers, but she needs to sell now. Now here's where knowledge and skills really come into play. To the point where Gabe is literally making 60 times more doing it my way than he would have doing it his way. What Gabe would have previously done is to sell that contract for $340,000 to $350,000 to a cash buyer, making $15,000 to $25,000 in a month. Not too shabby, not at all. Working once, but getting paid only once. That's feast and famine as soon as that cash runs out, which happens a lot. Now, if he knew how to structure that deal just a bit better, he would tie up the asset using a different kind of contract, not the one that he had. Sell it using a real estate agent, having someone else do the work, to a retail buyer in just a few months, and get around $100,000 after commissions and closing costs, sandwiching himself into the transaction using tools very few people know how to use. Not too shabby if he did it that way. 4 times the profit. Yes, it took a little bit more time. Yes, it took a little bit more skill and paperwork, but using better tools, having better knowledge, and better skill sets, he would have made much more, $100,000 instead of just $25,000. But also worked only once to get paid only once. More cash, more feast, but the famine will eventually happen. Now, let's get a little bit more sophisticated with infinite wholesaling. My way. This is the single best way to generate and stack 100% passive income in this market cycle. Earning what I like to call debt dividends with no financial risk, zero, no tenant headaches, zero, and without owning the property for more than just a few seconds. I'll say that again, owning the property for more than just a few seconds. That's right, zero financial risk. No toilets, no trash, no termites, no tenants, because you don't own the property for more than a few seconds. Now, anyone can do this, and I really mean anyone, as long as you apply yourself and use the tools as they're supposed to be used. And the time that it takes to find and close deals for completely passive income is a fraction of what it's been using our previous winning strategies. I'm talking find a deal Thursday and close by Tuesday. Here's how it works, and what Gabe did to help the seller, his family, and a future buyer. Now, the seller had $250,000 mortgage at 3% that had 8 years left on it. It's almost pretty much paid. Now, buyers today are faced with new bank loans that are insane on interest, well into the 7 to 8% range with good credit and 20% down. And if you have bruised credit, you're looking at 9 to 10%. Insane. And again, you got to have the money down. Now, most people, including real estate agents, have no idea that you can take over any debt, take it over to buy assets, meaning someone else like you or a buyer can make payments on that loan without triggering the due on sale clause. That's right. Only if done the right way. And I mean the right way. There is a federal law in effect, a loophole the wealthy have been using since the 80s that prohibits banks from calling the loan due when you use these specialized tools and instruments. Tools the wealthy have been using that also allow you to not assume debt, not have to qualify with a bank, but just service the debt, make the payments while you own the property. When you really learn how to use this and have access to these tools, it's a license to get infinite properties with existing financing in place for infinite cash flows. So here's what we did. We took over the existing cheap debt, a debt that's paid off again in 8 short years with a low payment of $1,100 a month. Now that includes the principal and the interest for the $250,000 remaining on her mortgage. We then used an asset-based lender to borrow enough to give the seller the cash she needed now and pay closing costs, meaning zero cash from you. If this was your deal, as the buyer, you would have zero invested. Nothing. Someone else is bringing the money to help this lady. Now, if you wanted to move into it and ruin a perfectly good deal, you could, but are we doing this to live in these things, or are we doing this to build wealth and cash flow for our families? You got it. Now, you will own this for a split second, and only a split second. Why? We offer seller financing terms to our future buyer. You become the bank, solving any buyer's issue of bad rates. Many want to buy, but they just can't. Remember, the rates are too high, they have bruised credit, or perhaps not 20% down, only 15. So let's be the bank. You be the bank. Now, as the title search and due diligence is being performed on the house we're buying, got to make sure it's the right property, we offer up the property for a bit more than it's worth to a future buyer for killer owner financing terms that beats and smokes the bank at great rates to those that have been rejected for a loan at those crushing rates that do have the cash and just have bruised credit. They want to own a property, they want the American dream, and these buyers have at least 10% down and offering better rates than the bank makes this a property that almost sells itself. We're helping people save money to get into home ownership on a monthly basis by being the bank, save money for 30 years on a mortgage, and also helping a seller with health issues escape the property they're in at the same time. Now, at closing, we get at least $50,000 down from our buyer that has 10% and create a new mortgage, a wraparound mortgage, taking the existing mortgage, wrapping it around to our future buyer for at least $450,000 at a great rate of 7.5% interest for 30 years, as if they had phenomenal credit when they don't. And that is payable to you. Now, you just did what the bank does. They borrow money from the Fed at a low interest rate, let it out at a higher interest rate, and create a mortgage for their own cash flow, their own portfolio, their own wealth. But now it's not the bank that's paid, you are, month in, month out, for 30 years. Now let's take a look at what that looks like numbers-wise. So you got $50,000 from your buyer, and now you only need $15,000 from an asset-based lender. The deal is borrowing the money, not you. And that includes closing costs, since we already have all the paperwork done for you, laid out, ready to go. Now that money will cost less than $200 a month, but let's use $200 to keep things easy to calculate, okay? So you take over the seller's existing cheap debt, $1,100 a month for 8 more years. We help and serve the seller. We get $50,000 from our new buyer to give to the seller, helping both buyer and seller. Now we borrow $15,000, of which $10,000 has to go to the seller, so we've paid her $60,000. We have $5,000 for closing costs and some money in our pocket, helping the lender who lent us the money make money on their money. And we have a list of asset-based lenders, so don't sweat it. So let's look at the cash flow. You pay out $1,300 a month. That's $1,100 plus the $200 for the money that you borrowed. And the new buyer owes you $3,216.39 every single month for 30 years. If you take $3,216 minus $1,300, it's around $1,900 a month for the next 8 years, which is around $180,000. Working once by getting paid over and over again. But wait, there's more. And when that first mortgage, that initial mortgage is paid off in full in 8 years, this payment of $3,216.39 is all yours. That entire amount is all yours for 22 years, and that is over $800,000. And if you take $180,000 plus $800,000, that's almost $1 million by helping a seller, helping a buyer beat the bank, and you helping your family and your future forever. Boom. What happens if the seller stops paying? I know, things can go wrong. They do go wrong, but guess what? That's awesome. It's phenomenal. Why? Well, our paperwork kicks them out, and you get to keep the entire down payment and any payment they've made thus far. That's right. You keep it all, everything they've paid. The property went up in value, the mortgage has gone down, and guess what? You just sell it again. Get another $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 down, keep it all, and another 30-year mortgage is created for another 30 years of completely passive cash flow, residual income for life. Now, if helping people in this market cycle to make more working just once than most do in a lifetime, using tools, resources, and the skills that the wealthy have been using for years that is at your fingertips if you choose to do so, listen to the case study that deep dives into this to learn more so you can do this yourself. Now, if you prefer to keep doing what you're doing, to keep getting what you get, and completely miss out on this narrow window of opportunity in this market cycle and let someone else get wealthy instead of you doing this, it's totally fine. I can't make you want it, and I certainly won't make you do it. It's your life, it's your future, and only you can make the right decisions to improve it.
If you want to join the tribe, then book a call in the description below, and also don't forget to subscribe.